Me girls, what are you doing?
We're starting at the train station.
Where are you going? Jane Addams' whole house, bow down and worship her, right? Yes? Perfect, okay. And how's the morning? How you feeling, Suzanne, with that tea? You feeling better?
It's good tea. I thought
All right. Okay, very good. Very good. Yeah, so we're headed on the blue line. I hate to hear my voice on this, though. We'll just go voiceover. Good. Okay, and then here's where we're going. So I should be a movie maker.
We're somewhere somewhere over there, and we're going here, so to the U.S.
Beautiful.
So,
Good.
yeah.
Okay. And let's just peek at these two lovely ladies.
Oh my God. Mary Richardson Jones was born as a free black in Tennessee during the Civil War era. Mary and her family moved to Alton, Illinois, and her good friend from back home, John Jones, soon followed. There, they were married. They decided to move up to Chicago, but on their way they were suspected of being runaway slaves and were detained. Once released and made it to Chicago, Mary made it her mission to become a leader in the abolitionist movement. Mary and John opened their home, located on 119 Dearborn, to fugitive slaves. Even with the passage of fugitive slave and Jim Crow laws, their home remained open. With the help of the Joneses, many runaway slaves made it successfully to Canada. She was also an advocate for black civil rights during this time, wanting equal opportunities to voting, schooling, and the ability to serve on a jury. Through her work, she became close friends with many other notable activists such as Frederick Douglass and John Brown. We are determined to defend ourselves at all hazards, even should it be to shedding of human blood. We who have tasted freedom are ready to exclaim in the language of the brave Patrick Henry, "Give us liberty or give us death." Jane Addams was born into a family of 9 children during the Progressive era. She was thoroughly inspired through literature, especially Giuseppe Mazzini's Duties of Man, through which she became a strong believer in democracy. After reading about settlement housing, her and her good friend Ellen Gates Starr traveled through Europe to visit various successful settlement houses. When she returned to the United States, she made it her goal to create the Hull House in Chicago. At the Hull House, Jane and Ellen welcomed many immigrants as well as influential benefactors. The house included a night school for adults, clubs for children, a public kitchen, gallery, gym, bathhouse, bookbindery, music school, theater, apartments, meeting rooms, library, and a lunchroom. Through her work, Jane became a leading civil rights activist and labor leader. What, after all, has maintained the human race on this old globe despite all the calamities of nature and all the tragic failings of mankind, if not the faith in new possibilities and the courage to advocate them?
As more people lived in the cities, change had to be made to address these needs. Jane Addams helped to reform society in Chicago by opening the Hull House, improving conditions for Chicagoans by providing access to culture, quality education and housing, and environmental and legal reform. The Hull House also helped to address the needs for labor and labor rights, holding union meetings and allowing residents to work. Many of the meetings were titled discreetly, as employers who found out about an employee going to a union meeting were apt to fire people on the spot. Still, the problem of workers' rights was not solved with the Hull House alone. Many other women took the stand for workers' rights. Mary McDowell fought for proper nutrition and hygiene in Chicago as well as pressured the federal government to investigate women and children's working conditions. This later led to the establishment of the Women's Bureau of the U.S. Department of Labor. Chicago was also known for several labor riots, the most prominent being the Haymarket Riot. It started as a peaceful protest for the 8-hour workday, but became violent as someone threw a bomb at police, killing several people. This helped to bring the labor struggle to national attention, making it impossible to ignore the injustices workers faced in the city. In July 1877, Chicago participated in the nationwide railroad strike and was forcibly dispersed by police and U.S. Army workers, killing 30 and wounding 200. This strike led to the emergence of the Socialist Party as the voice for local workers, making Chicago the center for socialism.
In the late 1850s, because Chicago was built over a swamp, engineers built most of the city on stilts. Criminals began to practice illegal activities in tunnels and rooms under the city. Roger Plant, an immigrant from England, ran a whorehouse and became the crime lord of Chicago. By 1860, Chicago's police force was 60 officers, and criminals from other parts of the United States moved to Chicago to join the criminal subculture. On October 8, 1871, the Chicago fire occurred, causing many people to lose everything due to the fire itself and looting. Then Michael Cassius McDonald moved to the city and became the next crime lord of Chicago. He was a gambler, and with his money he opened gambling saloons and parlors around the city. He opened a 4-story gambling hall, boarding house, and saloon, naming it The Store. He was able to maintain profits from the store because he made most of his money off of rigged games, and is known for saying, "There's a sucker born every minute." McDonald became so powerful that he alone was able to get men he liked into high political offices. The store became known as the unofficial city hall because city business was often conducted in the high stories of the building. He was known as King Mike. On August 8, 1907, he died due to heart failure. In the 1920s, a new gangster named Al Capone, later nicknamed Scarface, moved to Chicago. Al Capone kept a respectable front and hid his temper after learning to from Johnny Torrio. Capone once said, "Don't mistake my kindness for weakness. I am kind to everyone, but when someone is unkind to me, weak is not what you're going to remember about me." Together, Torrio and Capone led the Chicago Outfit, a crime organization based in Chicago. Capone and his brothers were able to take government positions and ran brothels, gambling clubs, and racetracks. However, Capone became rich by bootlegging. In 1925, when talking to an interviewer, he said, "Everybody calls me a racketeer. I call myself a businessman. When I sell liquor, it's bootlegging. When my patrons serve it on a silver tray on Lakeshore Drive, it's hospitality." On Thursday, February 14, 1929, at 10:30 a.m., a rival gang and their boss, Bugs Moran, were lured into a garage to buy alcohol. When they entered the garage, men dressed as police officers came and took the guns from the gang, lined them up against the wall, and opened fire. All but one of the men were killed. As Capone was in Florida at the time, it was obvious to all that it was staged by him and his friend Jack McGurn. This event became known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Many times the police tried to arrest and convict Capone, but always came up with the lack of evidence. Time after time, Capone made a mockery of the police when they failed to catch and convict him. He got away with murder multiple times due to lack of witnesses. Finally, in 1931, Capone was convicted on 22 counts of tax evasion. He was placed in Alcatraz prison and had little privileges. However, he received a shorter sentence due to good behavior. After being released, Capone suffered from neurosyphilis, and on January 25, 1947, he died due to cardiac arrest after suffering from a stroke. His mob, the Chicago Outfit, still exists today with 28 official members and over 100 associates.